You have to
absolutely.
ban it. Even though you say, yes, Chovy's not an Aurelia who can style on us in a side lane, the reliability of Lissandra and the inability of teams to get leads, specifically around the 2v2, is hurting them really hard. So I think Lissandra has to be taken off against basically every team.
Well, Griffin are going to ban the Olaf. We'll see whether they do decide to get rid of the Lissandra, because that will be heading towards first pick status here for Hanwha Life if it isn't removed. Olaf does make sense, though, as that first ban, because Bono, his champion pool, does seem to be the place where Hanwha can be attacked. But for their second ban now, we'll see what it actually is going to be. Aurelia is taken away from Chovy there.
I know some people are now thinking that Griffin will steamroll in Game 2, but like we speculated, hopefully Hanwha Life will be able to easily reset their mental after the game being decided by execution so much in the early game of game number 1. And when it comes to now having a full opinion on is Griffin back, I need a second game, because Game 1 to me, I was more focused on Hanwha Life's inabilities.
It was a sitter.
It was definitely a sitter there. They clean bowled them, I would say, as the cricket analogy is just beautiful. But Hanwha Life, how do they approach on the blue side? They get some more flexibility, and we notice Viper kind of styling in game number 1. He's still going to ban away the Kalista towards Viper. In this case, sorry, it was Sangyun who was on the Kalista in game number 1. So he's actually denying Viper the Kalista, which is kind of seen as the blind pick du jour when it comes to 2v2 lanes.
And also, they are guaranteeing to Griffin that they will first pick the Lissandra. It is going to be the Vladimir ban here. The Rise is available, but Lissandra, of course, is going to be locked away here for Hanwha Life Esports. And now the question gets to be asked, can Griffin actually beat these Lissandra drafts with what they can get in return if it is going to be the Jace here locked in?
And the cost is quite heavy to get the Lissandra. This would be madness 2 weeks ago, right? We would never expect Lissandra to be taken over Jace. Even though Jace, just like Jax and Fiora, isn't traditionally a sword champion, it is something that they've played to success. And of his carry champs, I was actually impressed with swords. Multiple Jace games in the Kesper Cup before the Jace meta was confirmed. It also allows them to flex between Chovy and Sword. Not often can Griffin take their solo laners blind early and feel good about them, but already you're like, these lane assignments, there's almost no champion in the game who you can blind pick that beats both Jace and Rise at all points of the laning phase.
And Tal is actually going to take the tough matchup here. The Yorick is going to be picked into the Jace. We're not quite on 9.6 just yet, so Jace hasn't actually been hit. Tarzan thinking about his jungle matchup into the Lee Sin of Bono. And remember, the Lee was banned last time around. So Hanwha with some very big tools here moving into this game.
The Singed Hover is a shout out to one of our analysts today. It's not Dongjun and Cloud Templar. It is, in fact, Kankui, a Singed one-trick master player who is known for his Singe. So just shouting him out with that hover there is Chovy. Just going to be the Jarvan rolled back and Griffin say, well, it worked in game number 1 to almost no resistance. Let's show you can do it again, and I appreciate the scientific method that we can employ.
And also, that creates 2 ridiculous 2v2s on the map as well, with the Jace and the Rise having great follow-up to the Jarvan. The Rune Prison, of course, needs no introduction, and so it's just raw damage on the Jace, plus the acceleration gate for the mobility. Griffin have already started themselves off very strong here in this draft, and it's not necessarily a similar thing to having, you know, that red side counter pick as far as top lane is concerned. They just get themselves good lanes.
But I like to know, who do you counterpick for in Viper and Lahen's lane? Traditionally, it's going to be support counterpick. That's what we see more often. If Vayne is on the board, it gets way more tricky, because if you don't take Vayne and Hanwha Life take the right Vayne lane, you might not be able to punish it with a last pick AD carry. But it's all made, it's kind of babied here, as Hanwha Life is going to ban Vayne. They don't want to deal with that thought process. I wonder if Griffin are going to march the drum of some other regions, as Jinx priority is way higher in NA and EU than we see in Korea, and I'm a big fan of seeing some Jinx on the Rift right now. Lucian is out, Ashe is out. Strong laning AD carries banned away from Griffin, so the chances of there being something spicy do crop up.
Yeah, I actually really like the Ashe ban here, because if the Kalista isn't taken off the board, Hanwha do default to Ashe a lot of the time, and Sangyun is fantastic at using the Hawk Shot to spot out the jungler.
Feels like Sivir Jinx are kind of the tier list AD carries. Tristana is coming in Korea more than other regions and could be considered here. So let's see what the AD carry choices are, and whether it will be AD carry or support taken. And hey, we're doing something new. And now we actually have a Flex Atlas, because you know what? Who's to say it's not Nico top lane and Jason the 2v2, given it's something that Viper has played before?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Or we could have Nico support for Lehens,
No,
because
we're not going to have
Nico support has been cropping up a little bit more here and there in
All
the
right.
solo queue. Okay.
You're right, it could happen. I want to poo-poo it, but the fact that you've seen it in solo queue.
And the buff to the E does actually make her more relevant. You can't say that it's not, but of course it is not now, as the Morgana's going to be locked
Couldn't
in.
it be Morgana like the 1v2 bang days, and then Nico unlocked to roam?
Oh, Spirit's moved to Griffin. This is so exciting. But it is going to be the Lovers duo on the bottom side of the map here for Hanwha Live Esports. The Xayah buffs haven't come in just yet. Rakan is buffed, though.
I'm going to say Nico top lane. That seems bold, but Sword practiced a lot of it after their loss last week. Both of these lanes can definitely be run into Yard. They have pretty similar mechanics, so it's a bit of a wash. A lot of magic damage in this duo lane. It's 9.5. Nico is hot fixed. Let's get the confirmation. Who is it? Seems like Pop was wrong this time. It's going to be Nico in the bot lane. So the first Nico bot lane we're seeing from Viper, something we saw debuted recently, was yesterday by Uzi. Uzi was on record at saying that he likes to see a caster support, a range support to help with the lane prepping, which is the analysis that Valdez and I were discussing in the Kesper Cup. I love the Karma Nico synergy. This time we get Morgana and the Nico, and if you help prep those waves and Nico can bash them down, her scaling with that Rage Blade into the Blade of the Ruin King is very impressive.
Yeah, and there were actually a couple of games played on a couple of weeks ago as well on the bottom side of the map in the LPL that were not necessarily successful. However, the Nico was disgusting. It was 9.4, so of course she was a bit stronger back then.
And let's shout out the best Nico player we had over in China, our boy Kramer. Over on LGD, the 1v9 plays were real, doing his best ruler cosplay and looking very dapper doing it. Shout out to Kramer having just an amazing individual performance on the year.
Basically, if LGD are going to win, it's because Kramer literally picked up his entire team and carried them over the line.
Well, Spirit Animals here as we get on to game number 2.
Yeah, Griffin fans getting very excited about a potential comeback here for Griffin. And if they are able to have another emphatic victory in this game, especially piloting this draft and having Sword on a lane-dominant champion that if he does actually pop off this game, that is going to be great news because it means we go once again back to how do you actually defeat Griffin if they have shored up what their problems were in Week 8?
And you look at the draft from Hanwha Life, and it's way less bold. There's so much power in these lanes for, importantly, Lee Sin.
Yes.
Take advantage. We talked about the small effective champion pool. For this series, started 7-3 Olaf. That was banned. 6-1 Lee Sin. From there, it's 1-3, 2-3. It's not going to be winning records on other junglers. So Bono's on the Lee Sin. His lanes to gank. Yes, Yorick is kind of self-sufficient, even though the Jace matchup obviously is going to be wincing a little bit. He's got Rakan and Lissandra follow-up in lanes. There's a lot for him to take advantage of when it comes to ganks here. Lissandra was the first pick, as we know. A lot of teams would love to pilot a draft like Hanwha Life has, so Bono is the one we expect to see. Now with the invitation to accept that RSVP and get things going in a way better fashion than they found in game number 1.
Yeah, and we'll see how this lane is actually going to crop up here on the bottom side of the map. Morgana, like you say, to help shove things out for the Nico. Tarzan, once again, level 2 gank, this time on the top side of the map. And it's going to be the jump in there to the skies from Sword as Tarzan is just lining up the flag and drag and gets the flash instantly. Griffin already with so much control here, especially topside, and that's exactly what Sword needed.
Really good gank timing because you take a good lane matchup and make it a great one because as long as you don't miss the EQ, you put it towards the turret, he has to flash, right? You're always getting flash there. You almost never get a kill because the flash is so obvious, but you guarantee it's a flashless Yorick in a bad matchup against Jace, and he's doing the Cho'Gath duty right now, saying, I would really love 1 CS.
Yeah, he's going to get one. There we go.
Yeah.
Power, nailed it.
He has infinite more CS than he had previously.
I know. It's undefinable. He's got 4. Barely has a health bar, though, as Sword is going to continue to go aggressive. Morning Mist is going to land, but there's no ghoulies that have been picked up yet. This Yorick is not having a great time. And Tarzan is thinking about the dive. 300 health is not exactly the largest number to get through.
He really wants that Doran shield to keep ticking. It's going to be 410 or so when this starts.
Yep, ghouls are going to come up here as Tarzan's taking a fair bit of damage. Tanking up the turret now as well as Tal will go down, but it's a 1-for-1. doesn't feel too bad here as both teleports are available.
Look, we can confirm that Griffin had their wheat bix this morning. They're definitely feeling the early flexing, but after the turret damage buffs between the years here in 2019 start, that was always going to be a trade. Almost no damage put down from Tarzan after he took aggro. Means that Jace has to do the rest. You still, of course, inflict a bad back timing onto the Yorick, and Jace can just run to lane and not take too much punishment, but not the cleanest from Griffin.
Yep. Nice snare to come in here from Viper as the Black Shield is used to great effect.
We missed this. Starting here. I assume this is just turning on to Chovy after it looked like Ships in the Night.
Yep. Aftershock getting about 1 billion value from Chovy.
They don't even get a summoner there, and it, of course, means the timing for Tarzan is obvious. No chance of a counter gank. That's why our observer showed it. Tarzan doesn't get the EQ damage. If he did, your thought is that maybe you live on a sliver or the minions just take you down as top lane.
Yep, Q is going to land there. That's a really cute flash to come out from Sword, who's survived for so long, but Tal eventually takes him down. Now Bono's in trouble. The auto attack from Chovy is going to do it, but now has his life been forfeit? Tarzan gets a nice knock up, and the answer looks to be no, as Chovy, even happy to turn this one around, gets himself the passive shield as Lava going down low. It's a double kill now for the Jarvan, and the teleport in from Sword means they'll be able to get turret plates as well.
The brawl up top happens again. Bono's at the lane, but Tarzan sticks around and gets so many kill involvements in this play. Gonna need to see the build-up because we're caught in a replay on who had the information advantage. Here is the replay to understand it. Lee Sin just going for a lane gank to try to help Tal to get a kill back in, but Jarvan was already there. The 200 IQ plays, slam him in the chat. He's always ahead of them is Tarzan. So important he's there because this is the only moment you can look to strike before Yorick is just fully behind in the 1v1.
Yeah, and this is an absolute disaster. Really nice knock up there from Tarzan, and Chovy having the gall to move back in, has the teleport coming in from his friend, but also utilizing the passive very nicely. The Rise would have liked to kill, but it's okay with having another 100% kill contribution. Jarvan, that's 2-0-2 now with the Caulfield's Warhammer and his Skirmishing Saber already completed, in comparison to 2 little swords and a machete.
And again, it's about the next level. What we're referring to there, without using shorthand, is that Yorick innately loses to Jace and already got turret dive. So that's the time where there's no information on Lee Sin because he fully reset, to find a lane gank, salvage a kill, and actually turn away the timer and turn it up to get that first item done. Anything. He has no items at the moment, just Yorick. He only has building blocks. But Tarzan is aware that that's the only window that Lee Sin could really impact the matchup. He's there for the counter gank. Nicely played from the jungler of Griffin, and now you're spreading your lead to the bot side of the map as well.
Yep, and there's just some double jungling coming in here from Chovy and Tarzan. They steal away the Raptor camp. Minion wave now has to be answered there in the mid lane, as Lava does have a lot of wave clear options and gets a Scry's Flume to try and figure out where anyone has vision on the top side of the map for Griffin. Viper's actually taking a lot of damage down here. Sangyun actually a pretty decent Xayah player, but he's going to lose out on that trade.
So again, I found Uzi's analysis of the Nico pick, which is so well described by Clement Chu. Shout out to Clement Chu on the LPL broadcast for it. He translated the words. Or basically, I don't like Nico with a tank support because I feel like her laning isn't strong enough in those scenarios. You need that mage support to help with lane wave management, which is, again, what I was thinking around Kesper Cup. I thought Karma and Nico was the way to go, and that's what we saw in the LPL, Ming and Uzi playing it. So I like the fact that the Morgana was held onto. It is a range support that just shuts down Rakan. It was always the way, right? Caitlyn Rakan against Caitlyn Morgana inside Rakan. Here's the invade.
Yeah, the flash in from Tarzan just wants to kill Bono. Doesn't even want to steal the red, but he may not actually be able to get there. Hands flashes over, hits the ward, and then hits the Lee Sin to grab that kill.
The flash attack move fails, but the binding duration we all know of, it's forever. He gets the second chance. They pick up the kill, and now the jungler is paying for the sins of the laners.
Yeah, that's real unfortunate. Thankfully, Tarzan's able to pick up the assist there as well. Holds on to that 100% kill contribution that he might be able to carry through to this entire series.
And we've learned something, and we can now crystallize what we've learned. Griffin have a new pick that helps them with their drafting. They don't need to last pick Evelynn to get into a good matchup. They're just going Warrior Jarvan, screw the Cinderhulk, and playing aggressive from level 2. And if they can play this forward, now there's another thing to think about, because this is a playstyle Griffin couldn't play last week.
Yep. I feel like the Jarvan is the big answer here, but we're not going to figure out what the other answers are
attack move.
This is going to be a win, as there we go.
Right
that
click,
ward
baby.
copped it.
Right click beats attack move. Yeah.
he figured out the right click in the end, so we're fine. Chovy doesn't have a lot of mana, but does have a blue buff as Tarzan's making his way over here as well, and we're going to challenge absolutely every buff by the looks of things on the side of Griffin. Realm Warp. Chovy not going to take it, but in goes Jarvan. Exactly right. The knockup comes down once again. The buff is actually going to be ignored, but the Jarvan might die here. That is the kill going over to Bono as now he moves into Chovy, but he's taking a lot of damage. Sword trying to roam his way down, and they don't kill the Rise, but they do manage to get the kill onto Tarzan.
And some bugs still to clear here when it comes to the early aggression that doesn't come naturally to Griffin. They don't actually pay attention to key out-roaming Lehens in this way. There was no backup from top lane. And the support was there when Griffin's support was absent. So get the counter kill. Nice little moment for Hanwha. They needed that. Otherwise, it felt like we're getting the replay of game number 1.
Yeah, and it's actually good that the kill goes over to Bono as well, because he was getting bullied around his own jungle. Now might have a few extra items to get things done, and does have the Caulfield's Warhammer, but that's a Warrior Enchant already completed for Tarzan, so...
It was a catch-up Caulfield's completion.
Yeah.
Not even a catch-up Warrior's completion, because he just backed after the kill. So, as you're saying, desperately needed that in that lane. Bot lane, CS for CS right now. The Morgana negating Rakan's laning impact, so Rakan roamed. Good moment there beside a Hanwha Life. Of course, top lane, after that counter gank for the secondary kill, means that Yorick Mori, he got some kill gold, but hasn't been able to spend it. He's still sitting on no completed items.
Yep, 45 stacks left on that cull before that one comes in. Morning Mist is going to get the ghoulies on top of Sword, but otherwise, there's not too many good things to talk about here. Sword's got a lot of long swords. His namesake certainly working out for him here, top side of the map. Going for the phase rush as well, to have that extra mobility. Have a look at those runes earlier on in this match, as Sword does need to be careful of the turret, but he's taken so many plates so far, very close to grabbing his second. 10 minutes in, still 4 minutes before those do wear off.
Right now, Rise Jarvan as a duo on the red side is this terror duo where you know so little about where they're going. In Korea, we don't see a lot of top lane, but we've seen support, obviously. I think that one's gone. Spirit's gone.
Flag
Speaking of gone.
Yep, he's dead. That is
Warrior Jarvan, baby.
Some pretty good layering of CC there as well, as Cataclysm's going to come forward, and Lava didn't have the Claw of Doom, so has to flash in order to get out of the ultimate of Tarzan.
And Rise, the one pick that works into Lissandra very nicely wherever she goes as well, so it feels like Rise Jarvan. Nice answer to the Lissandra if no Lissandra bans are inflicted. Bot lane has been an island so far. That was top lane previously.
Okay, we got the self-ult to come in from Lava, but Chovy should have it. One more auto's going to get her. And the Rise is just too far ahead. 2-0-3 now. Curial Scimitar already done. Takes the Blast Cone. There's a bit of a visual bug, but that's all right.
We've actually had less visual bugs on this patch, so we'll take it.
There's a 4-level advantage here for Chovy.
Yeah. I mean, Bono's had the worst one.
He has.
That part makes sense. Ocean Drake goes down. That's the early game Drake, exactly where you're near it. Viper can use his spells more liberally. We're on 9.5, so that increased root duration is there. The hotfix is there, so of course the payoff of Rage Blade is a little bit less on the damage front, but something I've talked about quite openly on Twitter is that the movement speed, the fact that you're still going to be proccing 40% movement speed when you have level 9, you know, fully maxed out the W. I think that 40% movement speed as a permanent steroid, because you're getting more than one proc every second with Rage Blade, is insane. As Chovy, he's in a pretty insane spot as well.
Yeah. Is it too early to talk about smacking him with your wallet? Because I think that's what Chovy's doing.
I don't think payday is there yet for the Rise. Rise especially is someone whose payday is close to the end of the month.
Yeah, that's true.
Rather than the early parts of the month. But, you know, he has his expenses check. His expenses are very low this month, and his expected revenue is high.
Yeah, he's done some tax evasion, I think, here in this mid lane. As the Lissandra certainly knows it, 0-2-1, down 20 CS as well. Hanwha's only real good sign is here on the bottom side of the map. The Featherstorm does come in, but the Pop Blossom to answer. Key immediately goes into the stopwatch as Lava trying to get onto Viper, but you mentioned the movement speed steroid. That's the kickback. Viper needs one more auto here from Bono in order to go down, as Lahen's very close to dying as well, but Black Shield will keep him alive. Matter of time, and the Nico does go down, so that's one good thing here for Hanwha. Bottom side, the Nico not exactly great, but the solo lanes are smashing this one, and Shelly is going to be in the ground as well.
And unfortunately, Atlas, you look at the mini-map and you're like, oh crap, you guys lose this in a big way, because it's pre-14 minutes. They lose out on multiple turret plates in mid and top, and Rift Herald will go down. So just a single kill for 4-man investment in the bot side. to me, is not enough, and Morgana can cheekily just try to snipe down some Tormented Soil to delay how many turret plates are picked up by Hanwha Life.
Well, Tarzan should be able to just throw HLE up here, is going to use it. That is going to be 3 turret plates. Over to Sword, he'll probably grab them by himself. Tarzan not going to do the thing that he did earlier in the season.
It's going to get the turret as well, Atlas.
Yeah, the turret is certainly dead.
You don't want to join as the Jarvan because there's no reinforcements.
Oh, God.
You take it down, you get two plates up, and 2 plates go down every charge. This is going to be a scary overlay when we show the turret plates that were picked up because 5 in the top side, 1 in bot, already 3 in mid, and we still got 20 seconds.
Oh my goodness. Lava clears out the minion wave, so thankfully these last couple of plates are not going to go down for Griffin. 50 seconds to go, minion wave not going to be here, but it doesn't matter. The damage, it just feels like it's already been done. 3,000 gold is going to be the lead, 3.6 in fact, as we have a look at this one once again on the bottom side.
You just need so much, and the insult upon injury is you don't even kill a Hens who gets out with his flash. Viper on the merry chase means that Lissandra gets to mid lane later, means that Bono can counter gank another lane later. It was 770 gold on the charge, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to problems. So I understand trying to make a proactive play where you're strong. Very hard to salvage a lane against Jace, because of course he had flash up and you can't really stop him. But the cost in terms of early game objectives, which are amped up and then some on pre-14-minute timers. Timers working against Hanwha Life, the gold lead already 4,000.
Yeah. We're going to check this one out. 2 plates bottom side, but that is 1440 gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot of money to come in just from turret plates. You can see 7-4 in kills. First turret gold going down as well in favor of Griffin. And Hanwha only able to grab a couple before these plates fell on the bottom side. Bono's going to try to follow around his one winning lane. But you can see Viper and Lehens, they're just happy to play defensively. And if Morgana can do anything, it's defensive play. Chovy has free roam, so I don't even think any play on the bottom side of the map is going to be something you can really do with Lava's teleport still on cooldown.
Nice itemization here from Chovy. You'll notice actually working towards the Righteous Glory.
Yeah,
Super
went for the Rilay's
famous for that one mid lane
version as well. Yep, we are going to have the Q landing. There's the kickback as the quickness does lock down Chovy for the moment, but he's just too tanky at this point in time. Sword makes his way in, and Chovy just casually walks away from that 1 versus 3.
And I think the casual part needs to be emphasized. He didn't even have Seraph's shield, but with his Merc Treads, the duration of the charm wasn't long enough. Flashed out of the Grand Entrance and takes almost nothing. There's almost no punishment there with the Aftershock resist coming in. Trying to gank him there doesn't work.
It's going to land, yep. Ultimate going to be utilized there as Pop Blossom is going to stun in the middle of the Grand Entrance. Key just gets dunked from Tarzan as now Bono gets stunned up. That is going to be the Blade Caller from Sangyun getting the snare. But Chovy is so aggressive with his Realm Warp. Uses the Aftershock, makes sure he tanks up the turret with it, gets himself out again, but this could be another one to get knocked down here from Griffin. And what is Nico good at? Destroying turrets with that passive on the W.
And where is Griffin overextended? I care to ask you. Look at the minimap. Nowhere really. They have a lot of forward vision. They have no worries around the Jace lane. They can play at inner turrets at 16 minutes, and they are backing up game number 1 and crystallizing that if you ask them to play early game outside of 1 or 2 hiccups, they've been pretty flawless.
Yep, I just love the Jarvan way more than the Xin Zhao as well from Tarzan. Even his Olaf has looked relatively forgettable in recent games, but this Jarvan is just so proactive.
Sad that we don't get to show the replay of the previous fight. People are wondering. Merc Treads got through the charm duration and allowed him to flash through Grand Entrance. And Grand Entrance never armed because the timing's there. This time, though, his Aftershock's back up, so he looks at turrets. He's already got plenty of health and says, I'm fine. And you know what? He was right.
Yep, collects himself a free cleanse there on the bottom side. No danger of dying because Rune Prison is so easy to get off and guarantee the Aftershock. Just love the play. Coming from Griffin, Chovy moves towards the top side of the map. I think he used his teleport to get up there as Bono has to get the hell out of dodge. If this Ryze so much as sees him, the Lee Sin is dead.
Ryze and Lissandra, these are the 2 champions that are a problem this week. There will be a problem on 9.6, which we expect to be moving to next week. These are 2 champions that are too flexible and too strong for their own good and have not been hit by any relevant nerfs on patch 9.6, so gotta feel like, depending on if we have a different patch for playoffs, we could be seeing a whole lot of these champions on the ban list. We are seeing them still on the Rift for now, but the updates I think are coming later in the week.
Yeah. Well, Sung and Key trying to hold on. They're still doing okay, but another Dark Binding lands. Lava's given up. And Viper's not going to be able to trick anyone with that one. Shape Splitter not going to work out there as Sword. Does have to be a bit careful of Tal, who does have his Trinity Force now completed. So first item spike here for the Yorick. But there's 2 items already done for Sword. The Jace is just so strong.
Yep. I think they've, in general, played pretty well around Sword's pressure on Jace. He's not going to get the same solo kills another Jace player like Keen, for example, might get, but I think this of the offensive champion pool fits him the best. Yep, good stuff from Sword. And this one, he has the most practice in competitive play on the Jace as well. They own so much of the map. There's almost no quadrants owned by Hanwha Life. They get Krugs, nothing else. And now Hanwha Life are just hanging back. No Baron has spawned, but 2 games in a row. You'd say that Griffin have comfortably won the game before Baron is even a consideration.
Yeah, this is like we need to have Baron spawn earlier in order to have something to do on the map. For Griffin, these wards that are here getting cleared out for now by Hanwha Life, but you can see the wards that Hanwha put down immediately get taken away. Chovy's going to be able to steal away the blue buff. Thankfully, Hanwha are actually able to fight for some vision, as Griffin do need to clear out some minion waves. I just don't know whether the respite is going to last for very long, as Julia pops a shock blast to the face there from Sword.
I feel like if Riot wants to target Ryze and pro play, it of course will have spillover in all yellows, but I think it has to be another mana ratio nerf. I think you're okay with Ryze doing damage if there's a trade-off, but we call it tank Ryze, but he builds Righteous Glory and Rylai's, and those have, you know, lower AP. The Righteous Glory notably has the mana, and he's just fine, right? So I think the mana nerf to him, a mana ratio nerf, would be kind of one of those simple nerfs. The larger nerf, or the millionth rework, might be an eventual necessity, but when it comes to pro play, I think the mana nerfs are the easiest ones to target some of these other builds that show that flexibly Ryze is just too damn strong.
Yeah, but only in pro play. His win rate in solo queue has always been low, because the skill ceiling for this champion based on his combos is relatively high. If you're going to get the maximum damage out, it's just not something that you can generally do.
You just hate seeing someone who can keep building tanky and blow you up. That's the thing I think that should be the point of power. It's why ever since Ryze was mana ratios, and you know, it used to be Frozen Heart, right, as the item, but it's changed over time, and that's the main pain inflection point for me. But zooming in on this game, Hanwha Life just trying to get Baron control. Very, very difficult to do with how far behind they are. But Scuttle is a start. It might delay the game a little bit, but to what end is kind of the...
Yeah.
I think when you look at the items here, and it's just a lot of issues for Hanwha.
Well, when Ginsu's comes in for Viper, he's also got a Ardent Sensor on Lehens. So the Nico, not going to be very ignorable from that point in time onward. And already with this Blade of the Ruin King recurve bow, he's doing a lot of on-hit damage. As at least Hanwha have found some form of stability around this mid-game. Bono standing on a ward though, it's actually dangerous. Stray Overload comes down from Chovy, and you can see already he needs to be respected. Needlessly large rod. Completed as well.
So how do you come back as Hanwha Life here? Because obviously the easy answer is you don't, and that may very well be the way. But what you want to do here is you consider what you have. You have Yorick, who does have the Maiden. He doesn't have teleport. It just came up as I say that. You need to group with Yorick, who doesn't have an impactful teleport, and try to make it about an objective that you can actually see in front of you and fight for, rather than, well, we can't see anything and we can't face check, which is, of course, somewhere this game might go. Cassandra doesn't really want to be face checking. Key is a squishy support, so they don't have a lot of ways to overcome a vision disadvantage. I think you have to make it about a crapshoot Baron, and the Maiden can tank Baron for quite a while, so, and that's an approach you need to take. If Yorick's bot lane, I think things like this start to happen, and they just don't have a lot of answers, Atlas.
It's not really happening, is it, Papa? Sungyun and Key unable to defend that outer turret in mid lane. Ocean Drake is just going to get taken down as a byproduct of Griffin's gigantic lead. Tarzan almost has his Black Cleaver completed. We'll see whether he actually decides to do it, because it was Guardian Angel that happened first in game number 1. He's decided that instead he wants the extra CDR and utility from that particular item. Still has the stopwatch available.
I want to give a shout out to a Twitter user, MagoGX, that commented on something. So we've talked about on this stream before, one of the mechanics against Lee Sin is that you can cleanse Flash out of the knockback that comes out there.
Yep.
And that's a mechanic that people, whenever I talk about cleansing knockups, people tell me you can't cleanse knockups, and you're right on the actual ability going up and down. You can't just cleanse and be on the ground again, but you can QSS Flash out of a knock up.
Yes.
You can QSS flash. Normally you can't flash during a knockup, but with the QSS you can. The interesting interaction I wasn't aware of is you can QSS flash out of Jarvan's EQ. You can't cleanse flash. There's actually a differing in terms of CC type that cleanse doesn't provide. My thought is that was what Sangyun was trying to do. Can't know that, of course. But he cleansed but couldn't flash out of it. It's kind of an interaction I've never considered, but cleanse works differently than QSS, specifically around whether you can flash out of knockups.
And it was actually recently achieved. I think it was last week in one of our last games. We had a brilliant QSS flash out of a Gragas ultimate that, in fact, saved a potential pickoff.
So it's not a meme point about Riot support and cleansing out of a Malzahar roll. It's just that the QSS interaction around CC seems to be a lot more total than cleanse being specifically the ones you expect.
Yeah. Well, bit of an update on this game. We've got a 1,000 gold bounty here for Chovy, stacking up his next one now by the looks of things. Has that Righteous Glory completed. He's sitting on 2k gold. So the Rise needs to go back home to make sure that that money is relevant, but you can see he's utilizing this time on the map very, very well. He's 70 CS in the lead over Lava. Very close to that Flame Horizon at 25 minutes into the game, and that is an absolutely terrifying prospect for a Rise.
Griffin have their damage items early enough that despite not having a true tank to tank the Baron, they kill it fast enough that baiting Baron is a game plan they pretty much want to invest on very shortly, but they're trying to dot their I's and cross their T's. Maybe they are strong enough with damage that a Jace flank is possible. Usually, of course, a very rare thing, given that he dives in and dies in most team fights. Going to start leashing the Baron. As we can see, they invest a teleport, and it's Mountain Drake, Nico. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, it's Rage Blade completed as well, as Viper's just happy to get these autos out. Does get knocked up, so that's going to take a little bit of time off there, but Bono's going to make his way towards the pit. Doesn't connect the Q as they're trying to turn this one around. Viper moving on over, has the Black Shield as Lava gets out with the Claw, and Griffin are at least deterred from continuing on this Baron, but you can see Griffin, they're always taking more than just what you can see. Sword pushing down on the bottom side, gets rid of Tal from that lane, and then Griffin moved back towards the Baron to just make it difficult for Hanwha all over again.
Still, because they can't tank it forever, you notice the putting their tools together, their soldiers, and timing for a second contest does work. So it doesn't take the inner turret just yet. You're right, there is definitely some futile moments when it comes to the defense here, but the defense works first round. Now, Chovy's got a pretty sweet hat to go with his tankiness, and he pushes faster than before, and his damage, which was too high for a tanky build, is now just overwhelming.
It's just ridiculously high. I thought it was going to be a Spellbinder to come in, but no, of course it isn't. Chovy's got way too much money. He wants to upgrade that headwear earlier than that. As Griffin, they start off the Baron yet again, and it's already down to below half health. Make that a fifth. Now Lehens just walks straight into the enemy, disguised, of course, as that was the Shape Splitter. Lava almost dies from a couple of spells there as Tarzan gets the flash out of Lava. Does have to go into the ultimate, as now Tarzan tanking up the turret. Pop Blossom's going to be dodged there by the stopwatch. It was actually Lava keeping himself alive for a long time. However, Griffin, they've got a Baron, and they now have a Jace split pushing on the bottom side. Sangyun and Key going to try and help him out there as the acceleration gate has a little bit of extra movement speed for the Jace to get out. And he has a Ginsu's. And, sorry, that's not a Ginsu's. That's the purple one.
That's okay, Atlas, because Hanwha Life were actually able to get something after the Baron went down. The flash not being up on Sword means that this Baron buff split push was usually the scariest thing to face. Jace with Baron buff is now going to be a little bit more blunt, but still going to be pretty damn serrated if we think about it. That was after the Baron was down, so there's no problem with sending multiple members. Bot side, they can't actually defend objectives like inner turrets, so they back away. Griffin's gold lead has now gone over the summit that is 10,000 gold. Now it just feels like they're going to come, roll up, and all Hanwha Life are going to be able to do is admire all the tools on the side of Griffin and watch their base be destroyed.
Yeah, they're the kid without all of the cool toys at primary school at the moment. Looking at one of the other kids having all of them.
And, you know, they've been prepped very well by, in this case, their coaches, but parents for the analogy, and they know not to be outwardly jealous. They know to be, oh, that looks nice. But you know on the inside, they're feeling those raw emotions of jealousy. They'd love to have a 10,000 goldie. They'd love to have a bit of a foothold in this series. But unlike the last time these two teams met, where Game 1 especially required an emergency 8,000 gold down teamfight victory and a pentakill from Viper, we've just not really mentioned Viper's name.
Nope.
He was able to get some cleanup kills on Vayne. It's been a passenger in game number 2 on the Nico. This has just been a destruction, mostly orchestrated by the Puppet Master himself in Tarzan.
Yep, Tarzan has done it again. This time, he's moved away from 100% kill contribution. There's been 1 kill that happened without him. I'm very disappointed. Wanted to see the 100% throughout the entire series.
But Tarzan, we kind of talk about as our prep boy, as this 200 IQ player who's just ahead of every other jungler.
Yep.
You learn that you don't want to get 100% on every test. You have to show you're fallible, otherwise people won't be able to relate to you. So 90% kill participation, he can say, well, I guess I got to be better next time.
Yeah, that's
in the
exactly
interview,
right.
and you can't just look at it and be like, no, you actually got 100% kill participation in the whole series.
Yeah, you gotta look at least a little bit humble. But right now, they're just looking to try and figure out where next to break open Hanwha Life. Good binding lands, but it's not going to get a Feather Storm out there of Sungyun. Sungyun, of course, still hasn't died yet. Has the ultimate available, both of his summoner spells up as well. So at least the Xayah, looking for his Infinity Edge, is going to be all right for the moment, but Chovy takes down the bottom inner turret.
How many members of Hanwha Life does it take to kill Chovy, assuming he lives through the QSS? If he had a QSS, let's say.
Very, very many.
Yeah, like 4 probably?
Yeah, I don't know whether they've even got enough members. As Viper gets out of the baby cage, he's going to be fine. Julia is going to cop a lot of abuse, but eventually moves on back as Tal's going to try and see whether he can get Sword away from the top side. Viper, cheeky auto attack there as the base is getting broken on the bottom side. Flag and Drag gets Jarvan over. That's going to be the advantage that Griffin needed to break this one. Sword actually going down relatively low. The quickness great there from Key, and they are able to grab that. It is exchanged for an inhibitor. This could be some respite now as Hanwha Life do have themselves the man advantage. Lava wants to utilize it as well. Good Circle of Frost as the knockup does come in from Tarzan. Once again, Lava's going to self-ult as Viper. Great positioning on the sidelines. Julia, his first target, but Lava just gets wiped out with that empowered auto attack. Good snare comes in. The Yorick is going to be not long for the world, but that's going to be Lehen's going down. Pop Blossom gets absolutely everyone as it's a double kill for the Rise. The autos are flying forward. Viper wants to get under the turret. It's the flash as Chovy picks up the triple.
5v4, no problem for Griffin. You knew it was coming, and yet you still always applaud it when it happens. The catch onto the Jace was actually very well done. The macro from behind, smart from Hanwha Life, but too far behind Atlas, and this will be the end of the game.
Yep. Turrets are going to go down, and Griffin, I don't know whether we can say it yet, Hanwha Life are relatively formidable opponents. They have been taking down a lot of the teams that Griffin in the last week weren't actually able to, but Hanwha weren't able to do it this time. Griffin, too strong on the day, adjusting their problems from week 8. Week 9 looking like very different beasts, and we'll see whether power rankings around the world are going to change now that Griffin look a lot better.
And I take your point, Atlas. We definitely still need more data points, but honestly, if you look at this series, the texture of this series, it felt like Griffin were handed a stress ball, and we're just able to squish them. Felt like Hanwha Life with a stress ball for Griffin to work out their anger at going down last week to Genji and Afrika, and they just decimated them. The actual way they won this was such a one-sided series. We wanted to build it up to be Hanwha Life threatening that they could be a top 5 team, but so early in the piece, they were just lambs to the slaughter of Griffin. Griffin take down their opponents 2-0. We need to see them do it again, but on just today's analysis, Griffin has sorted some of their early game inactivity that has plagued them in an otherwise perfect 2019 season.
And also fixed up their drafting very, very well. They let through the Lissandra, but they had a plan for it, for how to deal with it. Getting Jason Rise in the second round was absolutely fantastic. It was a stroke of genius. They could flex those for days, move them all around the map. But in the end, it was where we expected them to go, and Hanwha Life just didn't have enough answers despite it being on the table face up from the word go in the draft phase. So Griffin just picking themselves into a winning situation. Great to see from these guys. The Nico Morgana bottom lane, it worked. It wasn't necessarily the star of the show though, as I feel like Tarzan's going back to back when it comes to the MVPs. Although Chovy, I guess, had a pretty ridiculous performance as well.
If I try to understand why this series went that way from Hanwha Life, my impression is they prepped for Griffin last week and got Griffin this week. And what I mean is, the style they tried to play, I think, works against Griffin that rocked up last week, and Griffin that in general have been passive in the early game. Instead, they got a super aggressive Griffin, and it felt like you kind of had to just rip up all your notes and completely reevaluate. And I think they made some nice moves in game number 2. Is another amazing Lehen sign. We haven't had the zoom-ins like we did last year. That's his Galio that didn't get to play today. But Griffin's prep and Griffin's approach was just something that Hanwha Life weren't ready for, and it was evident about 6 to 8 minutes into each game. A lot of the game was already over.
Yeah. Felt like this was a taste of Griffin to come, which is exactly what we wanted to see, because they're a team that has been sitting at the very top of the LCK. We were wondering whether anyone was going to be able to take them down, and when they falter against Gen G and the Afrika Freaks, you're sort of worried about having the wrong team in the final if they're going to fall off towards the end of the season. It proved to us today that that is not the case up against Hanwha Life, who are generally a gut check team. They are the team that keeps people out of the playoffs if they're not good enough, and then they sit in 6th place and they don't make it in themselves. As that Griffin box is super cool.
Yeah, some homemade merch there, some true team merch. Griffin fans smiling for the first time in a while. Because of their strength of schedule, we won't know probably till the LCK Grand Final, assuming they can win one more match and lock it in, whether they're going to be able to play this way against the best. And that's something, unfortunately, we can't resolve till the end of the season. But if they can, then they do have another string to what was already a pretty beautiful bow.
Yeah, I think Kingzone is going to be their last, I guess, test in theory.
Yeah.
Kingzone have been playing a whole lot better. We're going to see whether they're going to continue that in our second series of the night that's going to be coming up in about 90 minutes, guys. Unfortunately, this one just wasn't a very slow one.
Nope.
As Lahens, we've got the replay of him attack moving the ward.
I believe this is our fastest Griffin series, which I think is an important thing to say. They are a team that can take down the opponent with breaks in an hour and a half. We started at 5 p.m. Korean Standard Time. We're down to 6:32 p.m. Korean Standard Time. Hanwha Life just blown away. Very interesting to see how they can bounce back. And remember, we talked about how Kingzone Dragon X, after this victory from Griffin, any victory guarantees their spot in top 5. So please join us in an hour and a half, because there's a very real chance that Kingzone can control their own destiny. And a squad that was looking like it was going to end the season in a whimper when Rascal and Cuz were being styled upon in the opening weeks of the season. Now Cuz is coming off a week where he won 3 out of 4 MVPs for Kingzone.
And it's also Def versus his old team, and B2D versus his old team as well. It's full of stories. It was exciting the first time round for Kingzone. I believe smashed them brutally. See whether KT are going to be able to find their way back in. Our 2018 Summer Champions. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. This was... Yeah, I can say it this time. Hanwha Life getting smacked with some very heavy wallets, especially the one that Chovy picked up for himself. Sungin playing his little heart out, but as you can see, that is just a style Realm Warp to come in and just takes him down. Sungin, you can see, did a fair bit of damage, but it didn't matter. It was all about the Rise this game. Off the back of Tarzan making, once again, fantastic early movements. You get a Rise that accelerated. His Seraph's Embrace was done very, very early.
So many noughts in the objective
very
side
close
for Hanwha Life in both
game.
games, right? Both games are pretty similar in the lack of objectives picked up. So, clean victory from Griffin. We'll be able to have a MVP interview. Let's confirm first. We're going to get it up very soon who the MVP of game number 2 is. Like you say, it feels like Chovy or potentially Tarzan. I guess maybe a chance of Lahens. He had some nice Morgana moments.
He did.
I think it's unlikely. He did use the Morgana well. Let's throw that MVP up there,
let's
though.
Find it out.
Get the confirmation on if we're going to get the 200 IQ solo interview. And no, Chovy. And importantly, Chovy now joins Def, who plays in our second series at 1,100 MVP points.
Yep, that is huge. And if Cuz keeps taking away Def's MVP points as well, this actually could really change things up for whether or not our little alpaca is going to be able to lock down the top spot as far as MVP is concerned. This is the last team fight. This was where, honestly, they could do whatever they wanted. Just press their buttons, aiming at various enemy champions, and they'll win, even if it is a 4 versus 5. This Pop Blossom was fantastic, but very interesting when the AD carry actually opens the door for the consistent DPS of the mid laner, which is often the other way around, especially in today's meta.
And we put up the standings again because it's a very significant victory. I would have had Tarzan here. I think he, once again, was ahead of the play, but I don't mind the Chovy pickup, and he certainly was a raid boss.
He was.
By the end, and now we get the very fun close race. So we might know Griffin is first place by the end of this week, but we will not know about that MVP race to the final day.
Yeah, exactly right. And it also might even get into playoffs as well, as we are going to move into the MVP interview. So here's Ji-sun for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun with the interview translation, and we're going to be joined by Harden and Toby from Griffin. So after 2 games losing streak, you guys got your rhythm back. How do you feel about today's victory?
일단 2연패를 일단 잊고 다시 저희
We
경기력
tried to just forget about the 2 games losing streak. We just wanted to get back to our form. And what has changed it as a team?
팀적으로 좀 안 맞아가지고.
Well, I think our teamwork wasn't really that solid, so that was the focal point. What about you, Chovy? You are back in the first place of the MVP standings.
딱히 아무 생각이 안 나요.
Well, I didn't really pay attention
오늘
to
승리는
that.
굉장히 기쁘실 것
I don't
같아요.
know.
오늘 전체적으로 스스로 본인 플레이 어떻게
So
평가하시나요?
how do you rate your own play today?
오늘 경기
Speaking of today's series,
팀적인 움직임이
I think
거의
our
실수가
movement
없다는
as a
게
team
되게
was
만족스러워요.
flawless, so I'm really satisfied.
정말 그 연승을 달릴 때의 모습을 다시
So I
금방
think
찾아왔다고
Griffin is
생각을
back in
합니다.
the
자,
original
솔직히
Griffin
얘기해보겠습니다.
of the unstoppable winning streak.
모든
So speaking
라인을
of game
다
1,
풀어줬다고 봐도
I think
과언이
you
아닌데요.
were
자르반
participating
픽딱
so much to
하실 때,
all the
내가
lanes,
뭐
so
바텀뿐만 아니라 탑
were you
미드
confident
다
as soon as you locked in J4?
예상은 안 했고 그냥
Well, I didn't really expect that,
게임은 이길 줄 알았던
but
거.
I knew that we were going to win the
자신감
game.
있으셨고요. 2렙 갱킹이 굉장히 인상적이었어요.
The 2-level gank was really impressive. You were camping in the bot lane, so that was a very unexpected gank for Hanwha Life Esports. So let's watch this replay together.
언제부터 계획하셨던 건가요?
When did you plan this?
레드 먹으면서
Well,
설계했던 것 같아요.
when I was taking my red buff, I was planning on that gank.
예상을 했던 게
Then
아니고
did you not before the game?
이렇게 하셨고요. 자, 이렇게
And this is another highlight here.
그리고 여기 숨어 계셨습니다.
You were hiding here in the brush, and then you just expected the movement of Kalista.
그냥 칼리스타가 계속 전멸각을 보길래
I could see that Sangyung was thinking of flashing forward, so I knew that that was the right timing.
저는 안 죽어가지고.
And even though he doesn't use his flash, I knew that I won't be dying there, so it was a good try.
도전을 하고 있었을 때 죽으면 어떻게 할까 걱정도 되지 않으셨나요?
Then weren't you not concerned about that? Like
칼리스타가 좀
their bot laners
고민하는 것
dying?
같아서. 그래서
I
킬
did,
달린
kind
것
of. So, but we were able to convert it into kill.
풀고치도 그렇고 이번 예측 기창도 그렇고 상대의
So
심리를
you
정말
are
많이
really good
파악을
at reading
하시는 것 같아요.
opponent's mind every
실제
time
연습을
with the
했을 때도
cocoon or that
예상해서
combo.
다음 장면을
So,
예측해서
do you usually
하는
do that during
연습을
the
많이
practice a lot? Expecting the movement of your opponents?
그냥
No, not really.
게임을 되게 많이 해서
It's just because I play the games so much.
감이
So I have
것
good
같아요.
sense.
타전 선수의 감이 정말 빛났던 장면들
Well, that is a great instinct from you,
초비
Tarzan.
선수는 이 세트에
And speaking of game 2, Chovy,
리산드라를 상대에게 이제 내주셨어요.
you
사실
led
그리핀의
Hanwha to pick
리산드라에 대해
Lissandra.
굉장히 궁금하거든요.
So what are your thoughts about Lissandra, or what are the thoughts of Lissandra of Griffin?
일단 리산드라가 있는 게임을 하는 게 그냥
I mean,
제
playing game
개인적으로
with Lissandra
편하긴 해요.
is obviously more
네.
confident
그래서
and comfortable for me.
리산드라를 좀 뭐라 해야 되지? 좀 하려고도
So,
하고
I don't know what to say.
죽어도
We
하는 것
try to
상대방에게 있을 때도
like
편안하다고요?
play or let them play Lissandra. Well, for me,
사실
it is
리산드라가
also
반반
comfortable
들어가고
to
불리한
play up against
상황에서
Lissandra.
분명히 라인전에서 만나면 까다롭다고 생각을 하는데 어떤 점이
Is it tricky to
편하신가요?
play against it
일단
during the laning phase?
반반 갔을 때 제가 상대보다 더
Well, if I
잘
go
굴릴
50-50,
생각으로
I
게임을
try
좋아서
to snowball better than my opponent.
상대한테 반반 가게 하고 나중에
So if
성장해서
I let them just go
실력
50-50,
자랑하는 것 같아요.
Well, I can show the difference of scaling in the late games.
네, 오늘 라이즈로 여진 라이즈 들고
Today
나오셨는데요.
you had the
난입이 아니라
aftershock
여진을 드신
rise.
이유가
Why
있나요?
was that?
일단 난입을 들면은 제가
Well,
CC를 아무리 빨리 풀어도
even though I
CC
just
파 같은 거 맞으면
drop the
죽는데
CC, well, I will die
여진
with the
들면은 스킬들 다 꽂혀도
from the Lee
안
Sin's
죽을 거라
damage,
생각해서
but
들었어요.
with the
네,
aftershock,
오늘
I
정말
knew that I was gonna survive longer in game.
그리고 또 리산드라를 솔킬 내는 장면도 있었죠.
And you also solo
함께
kill Lissandra in
만나보겠습니다.
game, so let's check out this replay together.
자, 이때 리산드라의 조금의 실수가 있긴 했지만 그래도 초비 선수가 끈질기게
Wava had a
잡아가는
bit of a
모습이
mistake
인상적이었어요.
over there, but you were keep chasing her and you took Sandra down. Wow, so what was going on?
집을 끊으러 갔는데
Well, I just wanted to stop the base,
각이 나오길래
but I just see the angle coming, so I just took her down.
그리고 여기서 리신을 상대로 저런 장면이 나왔습니다.
And that was a very
기억이 나시나요?
great moment. Your mind game against Listen. Do you remember that?
교란시키려는
Yes, I do.
작전이었죠?
네.
You were trying to confuse him, right? Yes, I was.
네, 교란시키려는 작전이었다고 말씀을 해주셨습니다. 자, 그리핀이 다시 승리를 가져갔기
Griffin
때문에 이제 다음
got their
승리도
victory
더
back in their
기대가
pocket,
됩니다.
so we are expecting a lot more from you guys again. And you guys really want that victory up against Talmud Gaming to secure your spot in the first place, right?
저희가 경기력이 완벽하면은
Well, if
좋은
our performance is
경기력으로
perfect,
이길 수 있다고 생각하고
I think
열심히
we can secure that victory, so we're gonna
네,
prepare as hard as we
멋진
can.
플레이 기대해 보겠고요. 초비 선수도 어떤 점 많이
And
준비하실
Chobi,
계획인가요?
what
저도
is the focal point of the
경기력을
preparation?
완벽하게 하려고 같은
I'll do my
생각을
best
가지고
to
있어서
just keep our performance as
경기력을
perfect as we
완벽하게
can.
하는 데 집중할 것 같아요.
So we're just
네,
gonna
그리핀의
focus
더
on making our
완벽한 모습
performance
기대해
and
보도록
form
하겠습니다. 또
flawless.
필두에는 타잔 선수, 초비 선수가 있을 것 같고요. 네, 오늘
So
인터뷰
thank you very much for this
감사드립니다.
interview from Tarzan and Chobi, and
네,
I'm gonna
그리핀의
pass it back
다시
to our
찾아온
casters.
승리와
Thank
함께
you.
중계석 연결할게요.
Thank you so much, G-Sun. Fantastic to hear from both Chovy and Tarzan, and that's the one good thing about the MVP not going to Tarzan twice in a row. We get to hear from Chovy as well, especially after they had that disappointing loss week 8. So now finding themselves in some better spirits, but I don't think we really got enough as far as explanation as to why things didn't go so well. As you can see, now we've got confirmation, SKT and Sandbox both confirmed into playoffs. Kingzone could confirm themselves with 11 wins in our next matchup of the day, but it's a bit of a wait. Until that one does come along, Kingzone versus KT will be happening in about an hour and 20 minutes.
That's right, Kingzone, any victory, and Hanwha Life can't overtake them. It doesn't matter if Damwon overtakes them, they'll still be top 5, and only top 5 make it into the gauntlet in Korea. Remember, guys, it's 4v5 in a best of 3, and then best of 5s against the top 3 as things goes on from there. So 4 matches, first match, a best of 3, into the true playoffs, which are best of 5s here in Korea. So Kingzone, it's always nice to have your future in your own hands. KT Rolster are definitely a team that are beatable. This is KT's last game in hand. If they lose here, suddenly they're favorites to be in relegation.
Yep, exactly right. And with Afrika and Genji both coming off victories against Griffin, it's looking like KT will probably be there. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a very